Let's talk about funding, or rather the lack of it in the region. Delighted to be joined in the studio by Philip Bahoshy, the founder of MAGNiTT, the research company. Morning, Phil.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Your latest report is out, and it doesn't make for great reading. Decline of almost 30% of fundraising for tech companies in the Middle East last year. What's the story?
So I want to challenge that to a certain extent, but I'll come on to exactly why. I mean, it's always good to put some context. So globally, we've seen since the peaks of 2021 and 22, declining venture capital investments. And the anomaly was the low interest rate environments that really accelerated the investments back in 21 and 22. Since then, we've had macroeconomic challenges. You've been speaking to many that still exist in the wider economy. And the hardest hit segment of venture capital investment has been late stage investments, those big investment rounds of 50, 100 and 150 million. In fact, we saw a 66% drop in mega deal investments. The positives from the report, though, are that we've actually seen more transactions year on year, up 7%. We've seen more investors coming to the region than we have historically, and we've seen more international investors coming to the region. The segment that's really been a focus are investment deals between 1 and 5 million, which basically sees 50% of all transactions that seeds the investment landscape for the next couple of years. So while the headline figure, yes, is somewhat alarming, the underlying data shows that we're at least plateauing and beginning to see the signs of recovery coming in the next couple of years.
Well, one of those smaller, relatively ticket deals was announced within the past few days, and that was Callo, the Bahraini healthy food company. Bahraini entrepreneur launched it, but big presence in Saudi Arabia, big presence here in the UAE, and $25 million is what they raised. Let's just remind ourselves what these guys had to say. We spoke to them a few days ago, actually. Ahmed Al-Rawi, the founder. Do you want to put the headphones on, Philip? I think they're next to you, a big set of headphones there. Then you can hear him. This is Ahmed Al-Rawi, founder of Callo, speaking to us on the 3rd of January about their fundraising.
The money's for a couple of things. Mainly, it's strengthening our position as the leader of the meal subscription segment or market in the region, and offering more personalization through AI and through improving the product here and there. It's also the second thing is for product expansion as we're entering into new segments of different product lines. So for context, 98% of our revenue has been from meal subscriptions, but there are a couple of other ways to make healthy easy, like retailer on-demand delivery, and we're planning to enter into that. And last but not least, hopefully some geographic expansion. We're about to announce an acquisition of a UK-based company in Q1 as it marks our entry into the European market.
So a good start to the year for venture capital investing in the Middle East, $25 million on day 3. What was the industry reaction to that deal?
I think that's exactly what we're beginning to see. Those companies that have been built in the last 2 to 3 years, let's put it in the context. One of the biggest challenges of the region is exits and liquidity. We haven't seen more than about 7% of all companies that have raised funds see exits. But a typical exit window, whether that comes from M&A or IPOs, takes about 6 to 7 years to come to fruition. Therefore, investments in companies that have been set up specifically in the last 1 to 2 years are likely to have a longer term payoff when the macroeconomic environment improves, and we might see a return of the funding days gone past. But it was very interesting to hear Ahmed talk about what the use of funds were. One of them is AI, and I was listening to you before I got here. That's definitely an area of focus specifically here in the region, and we're catching up, as was said, to what's been happening in the US. And the second one was very interesting, was around M&A. Right now, the M&A market is ripe for opportunities of consolidation, whether that's regionally or internationally, and that's something that we expect to see a lot of use of funds will be being put to work in the next couple of months.
So small startups buying other small startups, or medium-sized startups.
Or international companies now looking to get presence here in the region, or corporates, which have always been a big player for M&A activity, looking to consolidate within their space. So that really is something that we predict this year we'll be seeing more of.
And we saw a MAGNiTT deal, didn't we, just a couple of days ago, actually, in fintech. And we've been trying to get hold of the guys from MAGNiTT about it. It's a complex deal, but is MAGNiTT involved in fintech? Is that the large corporate, essentially?
Yep.
Does that fit with that narrative?
Absolutely. I mean, a good example of that is EAND. So EAND have had both on balance sheet, i.e. coming directly from Ian that invested in, for instance, Kareem last year. And you have Ian Capital, which is a venture capital entity, a corporate venture capital fund, which invests directly into businesses that meets the goals of Ian. So we will begin to see more and more of that activity. In fact, a sponsor of our report is HSBC. They are beginning to build out their new innovation banking proposition here in the region because they want to support the fintech space and the wider economy. So we're beginning to see more active investment from banks and corporates playing in this space.
Where are the hotspots at the moment? UAE and Saudi Arabia have traditionally dominated. Jordan's had a good run in the past. Egypt, always a source of, just by its size, always a source of deals. Ahmed's Bahraini, which is, we do fewer calls with Bahraini tech entrepreneurs than perhaps we should. Where are the hotspots?
It's a great question. Unfortunately, given the macroeconomic and difficulties that we've seen in the region, the real hub of venture capital investment has come from the UAE and Saudi Arabia, which have really doubled down on venture and startups as an opportunity. One spot is Qatar. Qatar, which launched their big fund of fund initiative last year, has actually seen year-on-year growth and will be bringing out a report on that opportunity as well, attracting international and regional companies to Qatar. But the reality is that the GCC has been, in terms of venture investment, the key driver. But that doesn't mean that there hasn't been great companies coming out of Egypt and the Levant. But what's happening now is that they're getting attracted to the GCC. And what you see is headquarter in the GCC and back office back in their home locations. And that kind of trend is beginning to develop.
You talked about exit. Talabat IPO happened at 160, the launch price. Yesterday closed at 164. So you'd say that's been a success. Quick take on the way the industry is reacting to that, because that was a mega exit.
I think it was very important to see that there is a road towards an exit here in the region. A term that I keep hearing is that many later stage companies that raise $50 to $100 million are becoming IPO ready, and they're going through the due diligence process to potentially list, and they may get funding along the way. I expect this year we're likely to see 4 to 5 tech IPOs, specifically in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, as they begin to see that window opening, as we will see in the US as well.
Finally, Philip, before we let you go, tonight is the first night of the Coldplay. Can we call it a residency in Abu Dhabi? Are you going? Have you got tickets?
I will be going on Tuesday next week.
Tuesday, very nice. It's described as the record setting for music sales for a UAE concert. So what we're doing today for all our interviews is picking a song that we think is relevant to them from Coldplay. Producer Jordan and producer Isa have come up with this one for you.
Nobody said it was easy. Oh, it's such a shame for us to part.
That is The Scientist by Coldplay. Maybe in honour of your social science expertise. Bachelor in Economics from London School of Economics, MBA from INSEAD Business School. You are a social scientist today. Philip, good to see you in your gilet.
Thank you. Love it.
Stay warm in the
Good choice,
cold weather. Philip Bahoshy there, the founder of MAGNiTT. This is the Business Breakfast Dubai 103.8 FM. You can watch us live on Dubai One TV.